Hi, Thomas. Let's start discussion with the importance of community actions in relation to defending our digital rights, especially right to privacy, particularly in a case of data retention. What was your role and what happened at the end?
So it's my belief and my experience that you have to combine policy work as well as campaigning work in order to be successful. With digital rights, we have the support of the people, and we also have really good legal arguments. You have to combine those two strengths in order to win. And data retention in Austria is a great example. When we started with that issue, nobody knew, nobody cared. Journalists were telling us, "Oh, stop it. Nobody will ever be interested in this issue." And we started the biggest citizen initiative that Austria has ever seen, with over 100,000 signatures. And that was really new at the time in Austria because so many people mobilized for one issue, for one internet issue. And the politicians still tried to ignore us, and so we went to the courts. And our constitutional complaint led to the abolishment of the whole data retention directive. So that was the first time that the European High Court totally annulled a complete law because it was unconstitutional. And now, a few years later, the same journalists that back then told us nobody will ever care, when a politician comes up with a data retention demand, those journalists do our work. Those journalists tell the politicians, but it's unconstitutional. And so you can really change things if you are persistent, if you work professional, and if you have the popular demand of the people. Then fundamental rights can be protected everywhere.
So, do you think that that action influenced the political debate within the Europe regarding privacy and data protection, and maybe even some other decisions of European courts?
I think so. I mean, in the recent opinion of the European High Court about the Canada PNR agreement, so another type of data retention, but this time travel movements, not your phone data. And they quoted the judgment that we were plaintiff of. So the political debate is influenced by the court's decision, because the court is the highest authority when it comes to our fundamental rights. We can make the same arguments over and over for years as civil society. That's just a fraction of the impact that a good judgment has, because we still have the rule of law and the opinion of the highest court counts.
Tell us a bit more about net neutrality debate and your role within it.
Good. Should we start from the beginning? Yeah, let's do the whole take again. So, yeah, net neutrality. There's this nice quote in the internet that net neutrality is not just a good idea, it ought to be the law. In principle, net neutrality is what made the internet such a great and diverse place, because it allowed everybody to have a voice, everybody to start a new service. That's the crazy thing. If you have an internet connection, you're not just a consumer. You are also a producer. The packages flow both ways. You can also invent your own service and be successful. Mark Zuckerberg, this bastard, paid $85 per month for the first server of Facebook, and now it's a multi-billion company. So having a good idea and having access to the internet, those two things are very powerful. And that's why we have to keep the internet open. Also because we don't want our internet providers to be the gatekeepers and decide what we can and cannot do online. So it's about the core freedom of our time. And we see that this freedom is protected by the people in the USA, in Latin America, in India, in almost all democracies around the world. We have strong net neutrality protections, and since this summer, also in Europe. And I had a little part in that story because I really cared about net neutrality. I was ready and informed back when the political debate started, and so we built the first safety internet with 5 friends here in Vienna, without any budget. We just cared about the issue, and we started a pan-European campaign that now has 32 member organizations from 14 countries, including the big national consumer protection organizations from Germany, Slovenia, and Bulgaria. So it's really morphed into something really big that got support from thousands of people all over Europe. And it is really empowering to see that good arguments and popular support can win. Now we have a tool set to really keep the internet open in Europe, and how people use this tool set.
Great. Let us switch a bit to internet.org and like battle within India in that respect, because there is a lot of people who are not really familiar with digital rights, who have some media background, and who don't understand why the project was shut down in a way, why net neutrality somehow endangered the possibility of all these poor people to get information in any way, why that way of thinking should not be followed.
I cannot speak for the Indians. I mean, there are great people that have done a tremendous amount of work, and I can only guess how this whole thing started. I mean, when Facebook announced that they want to expand internet.org to India, there was immediately resistance against that. Internet.org is the idea that you have poor internet for poor people, that Facebook, as an American company, decides about a few services that are accessible for people that otherwise would have no access to the internet. And out of this strong resistance, not only did Facebook change their service and opened it up so that it got a little bit better, also there is now a law against all types of zero rating, against all types of making some internet cheaper or more expensive than others in India. And this new set of rules is really groundbreaking. The Indians have succeeded on a scale that is just wow, because what they did was a generic movement that got over 1 million people to do something and to speak up, and that really convinced also the politicians in India. And to understand this, I mean, India is a rising economy. They have many creative startups and people that come up with great ideas, which are really novel, not only to India, to the world. And of course, they don't want to lose the freedom that the internet gives them. They don't want to lose this level playing field by some foreign company coming in a colonial fashion and dictating the terms upon which the majority of the population is soon connected to the internet. And I think it was the sentiment of keeping the self-control and really keeping the internet open for everyone that motivated the activists there to go to the street. And I hope that this succeeds, because we'll see this, we already see it in the US, and we'll see it in India, and we'll also see it in Europe. Our fundamental rights are not protected forever. We won one battle, but now we have to keep pressuring, because the other side will continue to fight this legislation. They will try to water it down. They will try to stall the enforcement of these new rules. And so we really have to stay watchful, because if we don't look closely to our politicians and to our regulators, within 1 or 2 years our freedoms can be stripped away.